What is good, guys? Welcome back to the channel once again. And today's topic will be entry confirmations. And once you understand the concept I'm about to teach you in the next few minutes, you won't need any entry models, any of those new shiny object syndrome entry models, because you know exactly what you always want to see before you enter a trade. And what it comes down to is your entry confirmation is always a lower time frame change in order flow. And you have to be able to distinguish between a manipulation and a change in order flow, because most people, they mistake change in order flow with a manipulation and they enter on a manipulation thinking it's a change in order flow. I would say let's go over my trades on euro I have taken in the last week, and I will show you exactly how I use the change in order flow as my entry confirmation. To kick it off on Monday, I had euro longs with the bias to look for price trading into those highs. We won't talk about bias today, and we will only stick to the entry logic behind each trade. Now, Monday, we have seen price running lower. We swept this low, left behind here S&T at that low we found on Friday. And then the bias was to look for longs mainly into this high here, and then a continuation into the Wednesday high. Now, the entry time frame on this trade was the hourly time frame. So before you enter a trade here now, if we go back in time, we want to see on the hourly time frame a confirmation. Now, order flow is always how is price reacting to certain PD arrays. In a bullish order flow, we want to see price disrespecting bearish PD arrays, respecting bullish ones, and at the same time also forming bullish PD arrays, and vice versa for bearish order flow. Now, that's the main concept you have to understand. How is price reacting to PD arrays on the buy and or sell side? If we are bullish here now and we want to have our bullish confirmation, so what do you want to see here? We want to see price disrespecting the bearish PD arrays, forming bullish ones, and then respecting them. Now, you have to identify the correct PD arrays which price has to violate, the bearish ones, so you know order flow is now bullish. And what you always want to do for that, you want to exactly take a look to what PD arrays is price reacting previously. Where has price previously found resistance? And if you're now bullish, price should get above this level. We got this imbalance here. You can see price used this imbalance in Asia as resistance to then trade lower. Now, if we are bullish and we want to aim for price to trade into this high, what do we want to see? We want to see price to violate this bearish PD array and ideally form bullish ones on the way up here. Then we can expect price to use this inverse fair value gap to expand into the objective. So we close above here, so we start to expand here. And what can we identify already? We formed the first bullish PD array on the hourly, namely this OB. We closed above those two down close candles. So now we have formed a bullish OB, and you can see the next candle taps the OB and expands higher. And now we want to see price to invert this bearish PD array. Now we can say, because if that happens, we can say order flow is clearly bullish since we are disrespecting bearish PD arrays, respecting bullish ones, which we have formed on the way up. And there we get the closure above the PD array. You always have to wait for a closure. You can't use an M15 candle for an hourly PD array. You need an H1 closure if it's an hourly PD array, always on the respective entry time frame. So now I can enter on this inverse fair value gap and expect price to expand into that high here and put my stop below the invalidation. So that will be the break-even level, and then final TP will be the equal highs. You see price runs higher at this point, break-even, and as you can see price runs higher, and then we still have those equal highs, so we can continue to look for longs, but the trading day is over, so we wait for the next day. And we now want to see price to expand into those highs. Now we got a large expansion late in the day before, so we want to see price to reaccumulate here to then have fuel for the move into those equal highs. So we wait for the accumulation, then we need the manipulation, and then we look for a lower time frame change in order flow as our entry confirmation. So let's go here to the lower time frames now and see if we can get a trade setup forming. Focus will be New York session. So New York session is coming up here, and we sweep the London lows. So we got a seek and destroy profile. Now we got a double sweep of the Asia lows, and now that's the point where we can go to the M15 or the M5 time frame to look for longs into those equal highs. Now let's go to the M5 time frame and apply the same concepts we have done on the hourly. We sweep below. Now we want to mark out which PD areas has price previously used as resistance. So first of all, we have this M5 bearish imbalance. We retraced into it multiple times. We swept this weak high, dropped lower into the sell side, and this was resistance. So if we're bullish now, we want to see price to close above this imbalance. Now, what else have we formed? We left behind this bearish imbalance right above the sell side. So that would be the first level for price to get above. And if we can close above this down close candle, we also will form a bullish OB here. Then we would have the first signatures in price to be bullish again on the M5. So let's see how is price now reacting to this first bearish PD array. Close above here, and now we have an inversion fair value gap, and we also have an M5 bullish OB here. Now, you still want to wait for price to close above this. This would be quite an aggressive entry, since price could still retrace and then continue being bearish. So you always want to see the levels, ideally, which price previously used as resistance to fail. Those are the highest probability change in order flow levels, especially if price has formed strong highs, meaning highs which have taken liquidity inside those PD arrays, because that's a really high probability signature on price for a change in order flow. Because imagine if those would be equal highs, then price could also trade higher here, take out those equal highs, and then continue being bearish. But since liquidity already has been taken on that move here, from that high, if price now comes back, it's much more likely to be actually a change in order flow and not another manipulation. Because price hit already the intraday liquidity objective, London lows. And now we can expect a continuation into the higher time frame objective being those equal highs. Now also let's see if we can leave behind bullish PD arrays on the buy side here, right? Again, bullish order flow, we're gonna see bullish PD arrays forming and price respecting those. So let's see if price can continue to form bullish PD arrays. We retrace now into that inverse value gap, and we want to see now this level to hold. Now, what is price about to form here? We have the OB. We retrace into the OB. So now if price is able to close above those down close candles, which have retraced into the OB, that would confirm an M5 propulsion block here. And if we form propulsion blocks, those are one of my favorite signatures in price to confirm that order flow is bullish or bearish, in this case bullish. We close above here, and we not only close above those down close candles, we also close above this bearish imbalance. So now here we can say with high likelihood price is bullish and we can look for an entry. So now we want to see price to retrace into an inverse value gap and then use that as our entry to look for longs into those highs. What else do we have? We form a bullish fair value gap on the buy side. Again, I told you, you want to watch out for bullish PD areas to form. We will form bullish OB, bullish propulsion block, bullish fair value gap, and we have all of those inversion fair value gaps on the sell side. So we try to align PD areas from the previous sell side with the buy side. And if we have that alignment, former bearish PD areas lining up with bullish PD areas on the buy side, then those are high probability levels to look for an entry. So entry would be the value gap, stop below the low, and TP at the equal highs. So again, you can follow up with that and read order flow all the time. We got retracement, respected now this inversion fair value gap. We got this bearish one here now. And once price is closing above this fair value gap, we will see heavy expansion in price. As we are bullish here, we don't expect price to respect this PD array. That's why it's so crucial to always have a higher time frame bias. So we know exactly where do we want to look for a change in order flow, and what is the underlying higher time frame narrative in price. Close above here, and I told you once we close above, we should see expansion into then those equal highs. And that's exactly what we see here. Now, once you understand this concept of looking which PD arrays previously acted as resistance, now turn into inversion levels, and once this makes sense to you, you won't need any entry models with, I don't know, unicorn, whatever it might be. You won't need any flashy, new shiny object entry models because they all come down to this exact same concept. And if you don't understand the underlying framework, you will always stay stuck and trade patterns. Now let's take also a look at pound, because it's also something interesting here if you combine that with weak highs and lows around the entry. Now we have pretty much the same entry sequence as on euro. We have here just the SMT at the London lows, which is also a confluence for a continuation. SMT between euro and pound at key levels where you expect higher time frame continuation. Now we did two opportunities to go long on pound. We had that low here, which we swept in London session. And then what do we have here? We have on the lower time frames, let's go to the M15 first. Price took out this low, and now at what PD array is price finding resistance? It is this imbalance here. So what do you want to see? You want to see price to close above this imbalance. Also, we got this OB here, which is lining up with the upper half of the imbalance. Once we get a closure above this imbalance, we can expect price to be bullish. Now, what did I tell you about equal highs in a key level? If price runs up higher here, but fails to close above this imbalance, this could just be a continuation stop run to go lower. So we need that closure above the PD array, which acts as resistance. Now we can also go to the M5 time frame and refine here our entry, because sometimes the M15 time frame, especially within a kill zone, might be a bit too high of a time frame and you miss some moves because you wait for an M15 candle closure and price already expands before the candle closure gives you confirmation. Now again, what have we formed so far on the M5? You can see now on the M15 we are still respecting this key level. We swept those equal highs and now could easily continue being bearish. So if you long this here and don't wait for the closure, you could get trapped here in a stop run, mistaking it as a change in order flow. Let's go to the M5 now and see if we can refine our entry. So we form an OB, those down close candles. We have inverted those two value gaps on the M5 time frame. And we retrace now into that bullish value gap and the inversion value gap. So now we want to see price to push up higher and first of all get above this M15 bearish imbalance. And at the same time, we also want to see price on the M5 to close above those down close candles. Why? Because then again, we have formed a repulsion block. Right into the upper imbalance of the value gap, and you can see price is respecting the upper half of the imbalance. You ideally don't want to see in a bullish order flow price closing below the upper half of any PD array. In this case, we respect the PD array, we trade higher, and what do we have here? We close above those down close candles. So on the M5 now we have a double confirmation of bullish order flow. On the M15 candle closure, we still have 2 candles to go on the M5. But because we know we have all of that low resistance liquidity here, and we could see price immediately expanding higher here, and by the time the M15 candle is closing, we already took out those targets. That's where you want to use, in this case, the M5. We can say, okay, we have formed this repulsion block into this M15 key level, so we can anticipate this key level to fail, and therefore already enter now on the M5 time frame using this repulsion block. Now we don't want to put our stops here, because those are weak lows. You don't want to put your stop at a weak low. put your stop at that low, and this low price could still sweep occasionally. We'll mark out this low, and we will enter on the proportion block. Proportion block right here. Proportion block. Now let's see if this proportion block, and also you have to imagine proportion blocks act as a jump pad for price most of times, since the proportion block is reinforcing this OB, and the price would then close above that OB, which retraced into the initial OB. That's one of the best confirmations you can find of bullish order flow or bearish order flow with the bearish case. We enter here and we aim, let's say, for all of those low resistance highs. So fill, as you can see, price is immediately expanding higher. Now again, I told you price can come back to this low. Let's say you have missed the longs here and you want to relong again. Weak low, obviously you don't want to now blindly turtle through by those lows since price is taking out already the targets, or those short-term targets. We can still expect price to go to the previous day's high here. But for that, I want to see another confirmation of bullishness, since now on the M5 time frame, we are bearish again. Once price has taken out this low, we have the OB here, we got this low, and we got also this inverse value gap inside the OB. Let's see if price can take out this low and then give a decent reaction. And what can you see here? We swept this low, didn't tap the inverse value gap, but we tapped the OB and took out that weak low. So that's now here a strong low. And now to confirm again that order flow is bullish on the M5, again, what do you want to see in price? Exactly, you want to see price to inverse the bearish PD arrays. We got this imbalance here. Also, if you combine that with the London close, open low, high close, we open up, make the low, and now we expect price to transition into expansion of the London close session profile. But again, we want to see multiple confirmations. Again, we want to see also price to close now above this opening price. Why? You can see price close above the imbalance, but is still respecting this down close candle as resistance. One candle failed to close above, second one, third one, fourth one. So we would like to see price to close above this down close candle to then form here a bullish OB. So if you get a closure above here, that would reinforce that order flow is bullish on the M5 time frame again. Still no closure, so we wait patiently to see if we get a closure above that down close candle. There we go. We retraced one more time into that inverse value gap, and now we close the bar. So now we can buy this OB, stop at the strong low. That's a strong low now, since we have swept liquidity, resting below this low, which was engineered on that retracement. Now we can expect price to expand higher. Again, we don't put our stop here, we use the strong low. Always use the strong low as your validation. And there we go. You see, we don't tap the OB quite at all, but you want to use the next candle's open, high, low, close. So once we open up, as soon as we wick below the open, you buy that wick and then put your stop here and aim for your target. And that's exactly how I use entry confirmations for my trading. If you want to know when to apply double confirmation, single confirmation, when you can turtle soup lows and so on, then you can find a linked video on that topic in the description below. And I hope you guys could learn something again today. I would appreciate, as always, a like and a comment, and see you guys in the next one.